Hello everyone. Welcome back to Modernly Mabel's channel. Today I'm going to be going through the stained glass crochet bag here. But just to talk a little bit about this, it is constructed in two sides. The two sides are then seamed up and then there is a strap added. Optionally, you could line the bag with a cotton lining, and you could add a zipper, you could do a button closure, or leave as is, however you prefer. So I'll go through how to do this, how to do some of those optional things at the end, and let's go ahead and get started. So for materials, you will need two different kinds of yarn, one that is variegated and one that is solid. So the variegated color will be on the inside and give you that great depth here. All right, I use category 4. This is going to be an acrylic yarn, and this I believe is a Pima cotton. You can use whatever type of yarn you have available. This is a great stash buster. So even if you don't have self-striped yarn, you could, take away some of your ends and, make a new color, whatever you want to do. And finally, you'll need a needle and some scissors to cut with. Optional materials would be a zipper. I used a 9-inch zipper for this project. So I will link below some videos on how to seam this in together. You could, like I said, a button closure, a lining. I'll put some links there and kind of go through that a little bit. To start chain 1, we are going to grab our variegated yarn and our 5mm crochet hook. So for this part, you could do a magic ring, but I prefer just to do a slip knot. Then we'll chain 3. And then slip stitch right into the back hump of that first chain. And then I'll just kind of hold the opening here, move the tail out of the way, and that way I have that opening right between my fingers here. All right, we'll chain 2. This will not count towards our total stitch count, and we'll do 12 double crochets right into the middle of that circle. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, halfway there, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Alrighty, perfect. Just smooth that out of the way. All right, and we can go ahead and close this up, and we will slip stitch into the top of the first double crochet. All right, and that is round 1. So as we go through the rounds, we're not going to fasten off on every row. We're just going to keep using it and pull it up. So you could put a stitch marker here, but since I'm going to be working this all in one go, I'm just going to slide this up out of the way so it doesn't accidentally come undone. And there we go. For round 2, we're going to introduce our solid yarn. So go ahead and place your hook into that first double crochet when we just slip stitched into. Grab your solid color and pull it through. Right, got that fastened. We're going to chain 1 and then do 2 single crochets into each stitch around. So we'll go into that same stitch to start, and then we'll do 24 single crochets across, and I'll meet you at the end. All right, so we're coming up to the end here. We've got 2 left. All right, so as we're working, we're gonna have to move the working yarn of the previous round, either in the back or in the front as we work. So with this, we're going to go ahead and push this in the back. So just make sure you have that loop that you pulled out as well as the working yarn. And we're just going to work right over top of it. So here's our last double crochet. We're going to do 2 more single crochets right into it. And then we're going to slip stitch into the top of that first single crochet. All right, and then we're going to secure this yarn. And that's round 2. Okay, so for round 3, we're going to move our solid yarn to the front of our work. So just pull that tail and that hoop, keep the tail, or I'm sorry, the working yarn and the loop put up, and then the tail we can keep in the back. And then we're just going to loop through our variegated yarn to pick it up. Okay, move that tail out of the way again. All right, so now we can see that we are totally clear here. We're going to go ahead and chain 2 just to build up that height. And now we can see this is the first single crochet we did that we stitched into. We're going to skip that one and go to the second. And we're going to slip right into that second stitch. So from here, we're going to chain 2. This will not count. And we'll do 2 double crochets in that same stitch. Okay, chain 1. We're going to skip the next stitch and do 2 double crochets in the following. And we're going to repeat this pattern all the way around. So 2 double crochets, chain 1, skip 1 stitch, and 2 double crochets in the next. All right, I'll see you at the end. All right, so we're coming up to our last little cluster of double crochets. Oops. Don't forget to chain 1 at the end. And then remember, we're keeping the solid yarn in front, and then we can go ahead and slip stitch right into the top of the first double crochet. All right, so now you'll have 12 of these little clusters of double crochets. Go ahead and move this out. All right, round 4, we're gonna grab our solid yarn. So I'm just gonna put my needle or my hook right there. Pull that through. Okay, so now we're kind of working in the front right here. I'm gonna go ahead and chain 2. And then we're gonna work around behind our variegated yarn here. So kind of pull it forward. Then we're going to go right around. So we are going to slip stitch into that first double crochet and that second double crochet, but in the back loop only. So you can see this is where we slipped. So that's our first. Go ahead and loosely slip stitch. And we've got that first little cluster. So now you see our chain 1, and then we also see the skip stitch from the second row. We're going to do a double crochet right into that stitch. So what I like to do is kind of just move row 3 down, kind of just bend it over, and then you can go ahead, stick your hook through that and do a double crochet. Because that way we're not going through this hole completely, but through this stitch right here. Then we're going to go back and slip stitch through the back 2 double crochets. And then when we get to that chain, we're going to do another double crochet. So right through that single crochet from row 2. And then we'll do slip stitch back loop only in the next double crochet cluster. And we'll continue this all the way around. All right, so we're coming to the end. I just did my last slip stitch into the back loop of that double crochet cluster. And then I'm going to go ahead and slip stitch into the top of that chain 3. And there we go. Go ahead and pull this loose. And that's round 4. Round 5, we're now going to work in the tops of these double crochets. So how we use the slip stitch just to kind of move along, we're going to work in the full double crochet and kind of cover these up. So we're going to start with a chain 2, and this will count as our first double crochet, and then we're going to do 1 more double crochet in the same stitch, and then 2 double crochets in the next stitch. And again, going through the full double crochet from the 3rd round. Okay, now that we get to our double crochet in the solid color, we're going to skip that and move right on to the next cluster. So 2 double crochets in the first stitch, and 2 double crochets in the following stitch. These can get a little funky, so just kind of pull the yarn apart and then you'll find it. All right, continue this around and I'll meet you at the end. Coming to the end here, so I've got my double crochets I'm doing. 2 in each little cluster. All right, here's the last one. And for this round, you're going to make sure that the solid color is in front of what you're working on. So we're going to skip this double crochet, go right in here. All right, we've got 1 more. And just kind of move it over to the left a little bit here. All right, and then we're going to slip stitch into the top of that chain 2. All right, that was round 5. All right, for round 6, we're going to grab our solid yarn, and now we're going to start to make those kind of petals that go around. So we're going to go ahead and chain and then attach onto the post of the next double crochet. So tension really matters a lot on this part, just so because you want them all to be the same size. So go ahead and pull these nice and tight. So we'll chain 9. And without twisting our work, we're just going to slip behind the post of this double crochet. All right, and pull that nice and tight, and then we'll chain 9 more and keep on keeping on. And behind that back loop. All right, so do this until you get to the end and I'll meet you back. Okay, coming up to the end of round 6, so I've got my last chain 9. I'm going to do the same. I'm just going to go right underneath our chain 2 here, slip stitch, chain 1, and then we're going to fasten off this round. Let's go ahead and cut with a reasonable length of tail and pull it through. All right, I'm then just going to pull it through to the back. Just don't have to worry about it until we're seaming in. So I'm just gonna put my needle through here. Oops. I keep calling it a needle today, guys. I'm sorry about that. But it's a hook, obviously. You can see I have a hook in my hand. Call me Peter Pan. Captain Hook, not Peter Pan. All right, so that was the end of round 6. For round 7, we're going to go ahead and grab our variegated yarn over here, go through the loop, and then pull it tight. Okay, so now we're going to work in these little clusters in between those double crochets. You'll see 4 double crochets here, and this one we are counting. So we're going to go ahead and chain 2, which counts as our first double crochet. We'll do 1 double crochet in the second stitch, We'll do a double crochet 2 together between the second and third. One more double crochet in the third, and finish off the cluster with a single double crochet. Okay, so we'll keep working this in between each of the clusters. So one double crochet in the first, one double crochet in the second, double crochet 2 together between the second and third, one double crochet in the third, and one double crochet in the last. All right, so go ahead and keep going, and I'll meet you at the end. Okay, we're coming to the end of round 7. So I've got my last double crochet 2 together, my double crochet in the third, and my double crochet in the 4th stitch of that cluster. I'm going to go ahead and slip stitch into the top of the chain 2. And that's the end of that round. Okay, go ahead and pull your yarn out. We're now going to reintroduce the solid yarn, and we're going to clip these up at the top of the double crochet 2 together. Okay, place your hook through the top of the double crochet 2 together here. It'll be the 3rd stitch. Okay, introduce our dark color or solid color. And do it maybe 3 or 4 times, see how it goes. Chain 1, go ahead and pull my tail through here. Right, and now we're going to go ahead and chain 1 more, and we're going to go underneath that chain 9 and back through that same stitch with a single crochet. All right, and so from here we're going to go ahead and slip stitch back loop only for the next 4 stitches. So here we go. And then we have our next double crochet 2 together. So we'll go underneath that chain 9 into the double crochet 2 together and do a single crochet. All right, then we're going to slip stitch back loop only the next 4 and continue this all the way around. Through the chain 9. All right, and don't worry if they're getting kind of off center here. You can always you know, move them around after you've been chained in. But all right, I'll meet you at the end. Coming to the end of round 8, I have my last single crochet on top of the chain 9. And we're going to make sure to move the variegated yarn to the front here, and we'll work around the back. So we have 1 and 2. And then we'll move this yarn, and then you have 3 and 4 here to finish off that row. Come on, buddy. You can do it. There we go. Okay, and then we'll slip stitch into the top of the 1st stitch there. All right. Go ahead and fasten this a little bit loose so we can hang on to her. And now we will grab the variegated yarn. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and chain 2 to begin round 9. So we're going to do 1 double crochet. This will be our 1 double crochet here. And we'll do 2 double crochets in the back. And just make sure we're not twisting this around, so we'll just keep this to the left here. All right, 2 double crochets in that last stitch of the cluster. Now just make sure these guys are together. We'll skip over the single crochet, and then we will do 2 double crochets in the first stitch, 1 double crochet in the second, 1 double crochet in the third, and then 2 double crochets in the fourth in these little clusters. So go 2 double crochets in the first, 1 double crochet in the second, 1 double crochet in the third, and 2 in the last. So just continue this all the way around in these little clusters. You might have to move this chain or these single crochets around to find. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4 here. All right, so keep on keeping on, and I'll meet you at the end. I've got the last couple stitches here for round 9. So I've got my 2 double crochets in the first of the cluster, 1 double crochet in the second, and then you can see we have the chain 2 and the 2 double crochets here. So we're going to go ahead and slip stitch into the top of the chain 2. I should do this off camera because this is just sorry guys and gals and all. Okay. Ooh, all right, so we are finished with round 9. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and loosen this up here. Now for round 10, we are going to grab our solid yarn from the back. There we go. I'm gonna go ahead and chain 3 here. And this is just to get the height so we can work over the top. So what we're gonna do next is we're gonna do a treble crochet into the 2 bars of the single crochet from the last solid round. So yarn over twice, and then we're gonna go through these 2 bars. And then finish up our treble crochet. All right, then we are going to slip stitch the back loop only until we get to the next space here. So we should have 6 that we're going through. Oops. 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Then you can see we get that space, and we're going to do 1 more treble right between these 2 bars. So it might be a little difficult to get in there, but you'll make it through. All right, then we're going to slip stitch back loop only for the next 6 and continue this all the way around, and I'll meet you at the end. All right, so we are going to move the variegated yarn to the front here as we slip stitch into our last little cluster here. So we've got 1, 2, and 3. Move this around, and we've got our last 3 right here. The top of the chain 2 is a little difficult. Come here, Bubsy. There you go. 1, 2, and 3. And we're going to slip stitch to the top of that first stitch. All right, go ahead and pull this out of the way. Kind of flatten out our work. If it's a little funky, that's all right. It'll stretch out as we go on. There we go. All right, round 11, we're going to start by chaining 2. Then we will do 1 double crochet in the next stitch and 2 double crochets in the final stitch of that cluster. All right, we're going to grab our solid yarn and that working tail and pull it to the front, and then we'll continue to work in this cluster. So we'll have 6 double crochets in this cluster. we'll do 2 double crochets in the first, 1 double crochet in each of the next 4, and then 2 double crochets at the end. So do 2 double crochets in the first, 1 double crochet in the next 4, and then 2 double crochets in the last in the cluster. Okay, we'll skip this treble and we'll do the same thing all the way around, and I'll meet you back. To end round 11, we're just going to go into the last cluster, do 2 double crochets in the first, and then 2 more double crochets. And then we'll slip stitch to the top of the chain 2. All right, go ahead and secure that, and we will grab our solid yarn. So for round 12, we are going to do pretty much the same thing we did down here with that chain 9, except we're going to do a chain 11, and then we're going to slip stitch through the back, through the post of this treble crochet here. All right, so go ahead and make sure that your tension is pretty good on these. So chain 11, then go to the left and the treble and slip stitch behind. Go ahead and tighten and do the same thing all the way around. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. All right, I'll meet you at the end. I'm finishing up the last chain 11 here. After you do that, you're going to go ahead and slip stitch straight through the treble, same as always. And go ahead and chain 1 and fasten off. I'm just going to cut that piece there, pull it through, and then I'm doing the same thing, just kind of pull that tail to the back here, so I don't have to worry about it for a bit. And there we go. So for round 13, we're going to go ahead and press these little petals in and just work on this back row. So go ahead and get your yarn. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're actually going to slip stitch into the next stitch. Okay, we're going to chain 2 for our first double crochet. Then we're going to do 1 double crochet in the next 2 stitches as well, just to finish up this cluster. All right, so in the cluster we have 8 double crochets. So we are going to work 1 double crochet in the first 3 stitches. Okay, we're going to do 1 double crochet in the 4th stitch, a double crochet 2 together between the 4th and the 5th stitch, and then 1 more double crochet in the 5th stitch, and then 3 double crochets in the last 3 stitches. So we're just making that double crochet 2 together so that the next round, when we're slipping on this, it'll go right there as well. All right, and the next cluster, so it'll be 1 double crochet in the first 3 stitches, double crochet in the 4th stitch, double crochet 2 together between the 4th and the 5th stitch, 1 double crochet in the 5th, and 1 each for the last 3 stitches. All right, I'll meet you at the end. To finish off round 13, we're going to do the first 3 double crochets, and then we'll do a double crochet in the 4th, and do your double crochet 2 together between here and right there where we skipped over our stitch, and 1 more double crochet, and we can slip stitch to the top of the chain 2. All right, after we finish this round, go ahead and chain 1 more, and we're going to cut and fasten our variegated yarn. So that'll be the last we're using for it. Next up, we will reintroduce our solid yarn. So we're going to count 8 stitches from the first. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And you can see that that's our double crochet 2 together. So let's go ahead and grab that yarn, pull it through and chain 1. Grab my little tail. All right, chain 1. Then we'll stick the hook underneath the chain 11 through that double crochet 2 together for a single crochet. And then we're going to single crochet in the next 8 stitches. So we're not going to do the back loop only, we're just going to go right through the stitch. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, and then the next will be our double crochet 2 together. So we'll continue going ahead, grabbing the chain 11, single crochet in there, and then we'll continue with the single crochet border all the way around. All right, y'all, so we are finishing up the end here. Okay, and we're just going to slip stitch to that first stitch here. We're going to chain 2, that will count as our first double crochet, and then we'll do 1 double crochet in each stitch around. Then when you come back, slip stitch to the top of the double crochet, do her all again, and I'll meet you at the end. So I've just finished round 16. So I finished the round of double crochets, slip stitched into the top of the chain 2, and then I've done another chain just to make sure that's secure. If you have finished and fastened off, go ahead, pause this, start again, and make a second side. And this time, don't fasten off on your second side that we're doing here. And let's talk about assembly. So with the first one that we finished that has fastened off our tail, we're going to start with our first and last stitch of the last round. We're going to count that first and count around 28 stitches until you get 4 spikes to the left of the starting and ending point. And you can also tell it's going to be the very top, and you can chase that up here. And just make sure this is 28 in between. All right, with our second piece, you should still have the yarn attached here. We're going to use this to help seam it up. So in this one, we're going to go the opposite way. We're actually going to go backwards 28 stitches, and it'll all make sense in a minute, so just bear with me here. All right, so from here, we're going to flip this over and have the designs facing each other. And you want those markers to be in the same spot. And you can also see the ending and beginning at the same spot. Okay, and then we're just going to seam from where we have our working yarn around the bottom up until we get to these markers. So you can use whatever joining method that you prefer. I have here, let's see, it's going to look a little bit messy, but just bear with me a moment. All right, so I'm in the top of that chain 2. I've chained 1, and I'm going to go ahead and single crochet into the top of that other chain 2 here. All right, so I've got there. Let's go right into the other top of the chain too. I'll just do a single crochet. If you like to slip stitch, or if you want to do, you know, the front and back loops, however you prefer to seam up, but I'm just gonna go ahead and do it this way. All right, so now we're gonna get into that second stitch. And they should be matching up now. The first one's a little bit of a doozy because you're working on the chain, but once you're in the full tops of the double crochet, it's a little bit easier. Let's go through the front, go through the back, and a single crochet. And keep going all the way around until we reach the markers. So I will meet you over there. So I'm finishing up a seaming right here. So I'm still working the single crochets around. Got just 2 more. Oops. They're both of those bad boys. Okay. All right, and here is our last single crochet in that marked area. So we have the opening over here. We went all the way around with single crochets. I'm just going to chain 1 more and fasten off this piece. Pull it through. All right, and now you can put your bag inside out. Put all of those little tails inside for now. We'll take care of those later. But here we go. So we have our opening up top and the bottom is all seamed. All right, so now that we have this, let's go ahead and make our strap. To crochet the strap, we are going to be using our solid yarn and our 4.25 millimeter crochet hook. And we're going to be doing the Tunisian knit stitch in 5 stitches. So to start that out, we're going to go ahead and create a slip knot. And make sure you leave an adequate tail so that we can seam this onto the back when we're finished. All right, from here we're going to yarn over and chain 5. Okay, and we're going to work in the back bumps of these chains. So we're going to skip the first. We're going to go through the second bump, yarn over and pull through, pull on the third bump, yarn over, pull through, fourth, and finally the 5th. All right, so you should have 5 loops on your hook, and that's what we're going to be using. So go ahead and yarn over, pull through the first one, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. All right, so to continue this pattern, we're not going to be working in the first one, but the second stitch. So you can kind of see there's a front bar here, and there's a back bar behind it. So you want to go in between those two and towards the back. All right, then we'll yarn over, do the same for the second, in between, third, and then the final one, you'll see it'll look a little bit different. So we're going to do the first bar and the second bar. So you have a little V going right here. Yarn over and pull through. Again, you still have 5 stitches. Yarn over, pull through the first, pull through 2, pull through 2, pull through 2, and pull through 2. And we're going to keep continuing on this pattern until this reaches about 30 inches in length. Keep in mind that depending on what yarn material you use, it will stretch out. So just kind of, you know, go ahead and make the 30 inches, see if it's long enough. If you want it longer or shorter, you can adjust accordingly. Okie dokie artichokes. So we have finished the 30-inch strap in the Tunisian knit stitch. All right, so now we're going to take these extra long tails and seam them into the sides of the openings of the bag. So this would be where you either started your seaming together of the body portion or you finished. Okay, so we threaded through that. Now we're going to take this side, this is the outside, and this will be the inside that'll lay across your shoulder. I'm going to take this, take our bag, and this is where we join together. So we're just going to seam right here. So with your tail, oops, go ahead and push through here. All right, and then we're going to go through the back, right about there, and hit this through the middle. I'm going to keep on going. I'll meet you back when we have the proper length. Right, and the next will be in this last. So we'll start with these three, and then we'll just keep working through and securing it. And just work this back and forth until you feel like it's nice and secured. Then we're going to do this on the other side, and you will be all finished with your bag. I will link below some helpful tips that I've used for lining the bag, for adding in buttons or zippers or however you'd like to close it. So I hope you enjoyed watching this tutorial. If you have any questions about the pattern or anything else, I'd be happy to assist. Please go ahead and send an email to hello@modernlymabel.com. So in the meantime, happy crocheting. Cheers.